Daniel is a great person to learn about from the Bible. Daniel learned about God when he was a child, and he believed in God. And Daniel decided that he wanted to live for God, even if something bad happened. And something bad did happen. Daniel and many of his friends were taken from their homes. They were taken to a new land. They had to live in the king's palace. That sounds like it wouldn't be so bad, but they didn't get to live with their family anymore. They were going to be the king's servants. And the king knew that Daniel was wise, so he wanted Daniel to be one of his wise men. He said, "Feed him food from my table." Daniel didn't want that because the king worshiped idols, and a lot of times the food that the king ate was offered as a sacrifice to idols. So Daniel said, "Don't give me food from the king's table, just give me vegetables and water and I'll be fine." Well, when Daniel ate only vegetables and water, he didn't look thin, he wasn't losing weight, he looked better than all the others, and God blessed him because Daniel was determined to live for God. Well, Daniel grew up, and Daniel was able to interpret the king's dreams. One time, he had to interpret the king's dream, and the king didn't even tell him the dream. Well, Daniel did it because he prayed to God, and God told Daniel what the king had dreamed, and God told Daniel what the dream meant. Well, the king was really impressed, and he put Daniel in charge of a lot of things, but he wasn't in charge of everything. And there were people that were jealous of Daniel because of how well he did. So they wanted a way to get Daniel in trouble. And they said, "Daniel is a good person. He's not going to break the laws. He follows the rules, but we'll get something about his God. We know that he's so committed to his God. We could get him there. We're going to get the king to make a rule that you can't pray to anybody else for 30 days. Well, Daniel loved God. Daniel was committed to God, and Daniel still prayed to God. He didn't try to hide it. Daniel prayed in front of his window like he did all the times, 3 times a day. Daniel prayed, and everybody could see that he was still talking to God. Well, they told on Daniel, and then the king had already made a rule that anybody who prayed to somebody else would be thrown into the lion's den. Well, that's what happened to Daniel. He was thrown into the lion's den. The king didn't want it to happen, but it was the law. So the king wondered, could Daniel's God save him? Of course he could. He is the creator of the universe. He is the sovereign God. He has power over all of his creation, including the lions. God shut the lions' mouths, and they weren't able to harm Daniel. And when the king came looking the next morning, "Daniel, Daniel, did your God save you?" Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Daniel was committed to serving God. Daniel was committed to learning about God. Daniel was committed to praying to God. Daniel was committed to God, and God blessed him for that. God wants you to learn about him. God wants you to love him. God wants you to live for him, just like Daniel did. And God will bless you too.